Day 5, October the 5th, 31 days. Me and Tim, we're back and we're talking. Tim, agree or disagree? One of the most racist movies ever. Before you answer that, Tim, have you ever edit?
Yes. So I'm glad you brought that up. I felt pretty racist watching it. It's got and not for the white people. Like it's got every black stare. Like it's crazy to think about what movie roles you had in the 90s if you were black. Like it's wild. Like you don't think about it until you go back and see it, and I'm like, man, like this is Spike Lee doing this, right? Like,
is it really?
Yeah, this is a Spike Lee thing.
This makes it even more racist, Tim, because there was an African-American director for this movie. And every character is like what you just hit it on the head. It's a stereotype of what you think a black character acts like in movies.
It's almost crazy. It's so crazy because when you think like there's nothing else, there were no other movies unless you were like a comedian, you know, like that was it. It was wild, but like so that carries over to like the types of stories. God, we are so racist for acting like we know all about this. But
hey, we're from the South. We're from the dirty South. We know all about this, and this is offensive to us.
We're as stereotypical as you could possibly get.
Yeah, nobody said since the 60s.
It's almost like Spike Lee just got all of his ideas from some white guy that was giving him money or something.
See, I'm telling you right now, there's no way. No, I'm going to look it up. There's no way Spike Lee has anything to do with this. I don't know where you get Spike Lee unless you're that racist that you think every time a black movie appears.
Right, it's Spike Lee. No.
It's Spike Lee. Is that what's going on here before I look this up?
No.
Is that what's going on?
It's the first name that showed up.
Bullshit. Hold on, let me look. Writers. I don't see Spike Lee.
Dude, he's the executive producer.
Hold on, let me go to Google. It'll tell me.
But you've got.
I don't think you watched it.
Everybody's a stereotype. The cops, the
cops I thought were the most realistic parts of the movie.
Dude, but the main guy, when the main guy starts talking, like it's extremely hardcore. They even play like the slave music, like when he's getting like beat and stuff.
Oh, they do that, but
so, which is weird because you have another story talking about the ancestor of an actual slave owner.
Yeah.
And normally, you know, it just kind of went back to the well, I guess.
Yeah, you're right. Executive produced. I stand corrected.
Yeah.
Racist.
So you've got the black turncoat cop.
Yep. Is he really a turncoat, though? Is he? Because I guess we should say, for people that's never seen Tales from the Hood, I remember renting this from Myrick Video out here within like 3 minutes from my house. They set up a little random country video store, and they had the most out of the way. And I realized that Tales from the Hood got a theatrical release, but when it popped up on the new release aisle, I grabbed it, and I quickly realized it's an anthology like Tales from the Crypt, or what was that movie we watched, Tim, 100 years ago when we were just an audio podcast?
Man,
gosh, what was the name of that movie?
What was that?
Hold on.
I have to remember that.
How do I not remember? Creep Show. I don't have to look it up.
Yeah, Creep Show.
Creep Show.
It's the Black Creep Show.
Exactly. That's what they should have called it. Black Creep Show. I think that's less racist than saying Tales from the Hood. So the first characters we're introduced to are the 3 most stereotypical black gangster characters that you could ever see on film outside of like a Mel Brooks movie, or it's parroting what we think African-American gangsters look like. There are like 45 F words dropped within the first 7 sentences as these guys are headed to a mortuary to buy the shit.
Where's the shit?
And then, of course, the creepy guy that is the mortuary.
Lawrence Fishburne is the only non-stereotypical human being in this movie, regardless of color.
So you think that was Lawrence Fishburne?
Yeah. Wait, that's just who I assumed it was. Who is it?
It's Clarence Williams.
Well, we can just edit that out, so our fans think that I know I'm paying attention.
The only thing that is you just got me. I got to bust out laughing.
I don't follow this crap.
The thing, you thought it was Lawrence Fishburne because his teeth were all up.
I mean, I saw the teeth.
There's no doubt.
Job, right?
No, it's Clarence Williams.
Okay.
He's the best. You're right, though. He's the best thing in this movie. He does a great job as a over-the-top, whacked-out crypt keeper / narrator of what's going on. And right off the bat, something's up when they come through there, and each casket leads to a new story. So we'll quickly go through each one of these. And do you want to rate each individual story or just everything as a whole, Tim?
Yeah.
All right, we'll do that. So
let's do it.
My first note was the most embarrassing dialogue to start a movie. I would be like severely offended.
Ronnie, the first 30 minutes of this movie is the greatest part about this movie. Like I'm not vibing with you right now. It was great.
I'm talking about the three gangsters. Now, I will agree with you that the first tale that they tell is the best story, with Mr. Morgan from Seinfeld being like this hotshot politician that's after all these dirty cops, and these dirty cops beat the shit out of him, and there happens to be an African-American cop who's a rookie that lets it go on, and the guy who's on the spaceship from Jason X is his superior, and he's like, cops don't tell on cops. And he was also low-key the boss of all those guys, if you paid attention. It made it out like the loudmouth was the boss.
He was just the bully.
But I gotta
backtrack on something. It's never good when you've got some film school black dudes trying to play guys from the street, because that part was rough. I will agree with you there. Because the first 5 minutes is just three dudes talking.
Cussing.
It sounds like your youth group got together and did a skit about like, don't buy the drugs from the gangs, because this is what it would sound like minus the profanity. It was pretty dumb. But anyway, first story. By the way, all of these guys are in hell, right? Like all of the main people in each of these stories, they all end up in hell.
Oh, spoiler alert, at the end, they're all in hell. Yes, Tim, they're all in hell. Okay. So that means the politician that got killed, he was obviously dirty, because when they killed him, he went straight to hell.
His body wasn't there. That was the cop's body. That was the black rookie cop's body.
Oh,
Clarence.
You're right. No, that's not. His name ain't Clarence. What is wrong with you?
His name's Clarence because he was calling out his name. Clarence. I swear to God, the character's name.
Oh, you're right. It is Clarence. I was thinking about Clarence. I'm sorry. I'm just going to shut up now. This is like the worst interview ever. I mean, the worst review ever.
The first story was great. I thought everything about it was cool. I was into it. It actually had kills, which, come to find out, they were kind of hard to come by for the rest of this movie. It was if the rest of if the other two stories were like the first one, this would have been a much better movie than it ended up being.
All right, so like we were talking about, there's a politician who gets killed by the cops. He calls out
to weed out the drug dealing, dirty white cops.
So the cops inject him with heroin and kill him. And it looks like he OD'd, so they ruin his name. Meanwhile, the African-American rookie cop let this go on. He quits the force. He's a drunk now. And the voice of Mr. Morgan from Seinfeld, who is the one they killed, tells him to lead the cops to his grave. So he does that, and the cops proceed to piss all over his grave, and that's what reanimates the corpse. And then he's after the cops, and it's a big everywhere the cops turn. It's like overacting to the 1,000th degree.
There's a car chase through a city. There's like
that's abandoned.
and explosions in the cemetery. I think they blew all the budget on this first one, and that's what's causing the rest of the movie to suffer.
Yeah, and then at the end of the movie, at the end of the tale, they're all dead. So
Yes.
I don't know how to.
And he gets the rookie cop for letting it happen. He gets him too.
The rookie cop, it ends with him in like an insane asylum, and we just have to assume he murdered himself because he was in the casket. So then it transitions to the next one, and I'm going to disagree with Tim because I think the second story had the most potential. It's about a boy who has bruises all over him that tells his teacher that there's a monster that showed up at his house after his dad died. And he's drawing like spooky pictures. There's a bully at school that's messing with him. He squeezes a sheet of paper and it breaks the bully in half or something like that. But we later find out that this monster is just David Allen Greer, which may be the most unrealistic part of this movie that includes dummies and hell.
That's the second biggest problem, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you went with somebody like Debo from Friday, or like if you had Zeus as that guy, then yeah, you can buy it as a badass that's coming home and beating his kid. But back to why I said it has the most potential, it's about a kid that's being abused by his mother's boyfriend.
It's depressing as hell. It is it's so depressing. It's too depressing for me to enjoy. It's a horror movie.
I put down the Walter story was heartbreaking because it happens so much. And the spin that they put on it is that Walter gets the ability to, at the end of it, when David Allen Greer is whooping everybody's ass in that house, he just takes the paper that's got the monster on it and he crumples up the paper, which leads to one of the funniest things I've ever seen, because you see a dummy all twisted up and David Allen Greer's face as he's still saying he's going to get him, and then they stomp on the paper, and it's a big splat right there.
Yeah, so they burn him up.
And then they burn him up.
The way you just said that makes it sound like 90% of it isn't this kid getting beat up and afraid and watching a doorknob to his room jiggle. Like it's really bad.
Like Tim's right. 75% is the kid scared as the monster, is coming in. But like I said, it loses all credibility when you find out who the monster is. We transition in the story.
It's pretty jarring to see him in that. It's like,
yeah, it's like
better than everyone else in the story, regardless of what he does. So it's tough.
He's way too likable to be mean. Exactly. If that makes sense. We transition into the Trump story in the next one, the third one. It to be. Corbin Burnson plays somebody that's running for governor. He's staying in an old plantation house. There's people outside that are protesting. Apparently, the house was used to kill or entrap tons of slaves back after they were legalized. The owner didn't want to give up his slaves, so he killed them. And then they added more to the history of the house. A voodoo woman, a priestess, showed up and took all their souls that were trapped on the property and put them into dolls. So for some reason, they're protesting a mean white man that's living there when they should just want him to live there because he's going to get killed. These dolls are all over the house all of a sudden. There's a huge painting of this woman who is, surrounded by dolls. His image consultant falls down the stairs, breaks his neck, and you see a doll there. They have a funeral. There's a doll.
His image consultant is an African American.
Yes, and he's trying to make him.
There's a very big black on black crime theme that's like throughout this entire movie.
Yeah, not only that, but I got the vibe there for a second. I was waiting for Corbin Burnson and this guy to start making out because they were really like buddy. He was like, "No, give me the camera. I'll show you how to do it." Like they were very.
Maybe that was implied. Maybe that was because back in the 90s that would have been a real big put down.
Yeah. Ooh.
Yeah. Like the whole down low. No, he's like trying to say like they're down low gay, but now you can't, probably not for the best.
Who knows? This whole story is Corbin Burnson running around with a shotgun, shooting little black dummies and calling them horrible racist names until they all ransack him at the same time and start eating him. And then some old man shows up, just appears out of nowhere in a rocking chair in the middle of the room, and it fades to black.
The dude that's jumping in front of the camera during all these interviews and stuff, is he supposed to be the zippity doodah guy from that Disney movie?
Yes,
Like,
he's supposed.
Okay, like it's pretty spot on.
Yeah, I remember him the most. He played one of the guys that worked at the airport in Die Hard 2. So that's where I remember him from. Now we transition. See, for the longest time, I was like, okay, I'm done with this effing movie now. Then no, there's another story where this 125-pound gangster is acting like a hard ass, and he's got a K carved into his head, and he jumps out of the car because somebody cut him off, and he shoots somebody right in the middle of a neighborhood, and then all of a sudden 3 people run out and shoot him, and then that's when I remembered, oh, okay, because that's the 3 people that's talking to the mortician.
I didn't remember until that scene either, because I actually, like, for whatever reason, I couldn't remember the first story. I couldn't remember the last story. I remembered the kid getting beat story. I must have hated it the first time I saw this movie too. But anyway, yeah, it's the same 3 guys that are being told these stories by the devil mortician.
And this guy's punishment is he goes to jail, he goes to prison, and they take him somewhere where he can get early released if he's, what's the word I'm looking for? Rehabilitated.
But it's very much a Clockwork Orange.
Yeah, you got a bunch of females in weird clothing. You got giant guards that show just how short this character is.
Well,
you got a bunch of
like the feed from the images into his brain and all that stuff. They got him hooked up to the apparatus. By the way, I wasn't a fan of this story, but the whole, like, the place where they're doing the treatments looked pretty cool. I was down with it.
Yeah, I mean, they show him like 15 minutes of real-time footage of black-on-black crime from the last 80 years. They did give away one thing in this story. The 3 people that killed him were also killed by the cops when they showed up. That way, when we transition out of this story, the mortician now has all the guns pointed at him. These 3 people, these 3 gangsters are like, what are you doing, man? You know that story's not true. We're the ones that killed him, but we want the drugs first. He takes them into another room with 3 coffins, opens them up. Of course, it's the 3 gangsters. And then that's when we get probably the best line of dialogue in the movie where he goes, welcome to hell, mother. Oh, and then he like transitions into a devil, blah, 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 hit the credits. That's Tales from the Hood, Tim. What do you rate it?
6 out of 10.
Very racist score. I'm going to go 5.4 out of 10. That's Tales from the Hood. October the 5th, Tim. Hopefully your October's going great. Hopefully this may be the review that gets us. I started just to do like just cancel it. Like YouTube won't allow us to watch this. This movie's crap, by the way. It's really not any good.
It's not great after you get into it. It tries to be slick, and the problem is the problem is there's more message than horror movie. And so you've got a horror movie that's a horror movie 60% of the time, where that's got to be at least 90 if you're trying to float a horror movie. Especially, like, what year did this movie come out? We're like in horror
96.
We're in horror
No, hold on, 95.
Yeah, we're in the renaissance of horror shows or coming out of it. So there's a high bar there.
They had no excuse. This should have been better. But then the early 90s were littered with movies like this that could have been good, but just missed, the big swing and a miss. And they didn't get good again until like a year later when Scream came out. And then you got a little bit better quality of movies to finish out the 90s. But Tales from the Hood, other than Clarence Williams' performance, which if you'd have told me he's on coke the whole time, I'd have believed it.
He's on the shit.
You want the shit, don't you? We want this movie shit. Yeah. That's what shit. All right, Tim. We'll see you tomorrow.